Hello, welcome to Boardgame Basecoats, and today we are playing through Raiders of the North Sea. I do have all the expansions. We're going to play with these colors because I have dice that match them, and that's going to help me visually as I edit. So, we're playing with the death dice, where you can die. Now, I've placed both decks right here just for my ease. These I've placed as normal, but these last two I've placed 2 and 2 face up. So that is a variant. Please keep that in mind. And I do have the food tokens. Impress the chieftain by raiding settlements. Assemble a crew. Collect provisions and journey north to plunder gold, iron, and livestock. There is glory to be found in battle, even at the hands of the Valkyrie. So, gather your warriors. It's raiding season. Now this is a worker placement game, and is actually one of the first I ever liked, and probably the first one I ever bought. Because instead of trading and trading and trading, instead we're building up to head north to raid. And that was far more attractive to me than the trading. So, just the last bit of setup here. This is the Mead Hall. I did like this expansion because before you could get 2 cards at random that were blind, but here you have them face up, and then you have this addition of perhaps getting money and this mead to help in battle. So, nice expansion. So, first off, let's go ahead and set up for each of the players. You get 5 crew cards, and then from this you go ahead and pick 2. Now there is a quick start variant where you start with a crew member automatically, but as always, whenever I first play a game, what I do is I don't do that quick start. I play it pretty much as is. So these are the 3 crew that blue has chosen here. Next up, green. Here is their 5 crew members, and then they're going to go ahead and pick 3. Now, as far as strategy goes for this initial setup, pretty much what I tell players is take a look at the top left. This is their combat value, and then right under that is how much silver they cost. So you start the game with 2 silver. So what is kind of important is you want to start with a crew lineup that'll get you fighting as soon as possible. So you don't want to get too many that cost too much, but you don't want a hand where they cost too little. So I tell them, kind of pick at least 1 low one, like this huntsman, and then a couple high ones. So just so you can get a nice balance. So that's usually how I go. Now on the left side, this is something that happens when the card is brought into play. And then on the right side are powers that you get when you discard the card at a certain location. So I tell them, don't worry about that blue side. That left side, you can look at that, but for now, kind of just look at those numbers. Alright, so that's it. We're all set up. Let's get going. So first off, we're going to take our worker turn. So we all start with black workers here. And first off, we're going to go ahead and go to the barracks, and we're going to bring the shepherd into play. It has 0 power and costs 1 gold, and actually I forget to pay the gold, so oops. Anyway, moving on. Now notice that I placed a worker and then I picked up a worker, so that's basically the pattern here. So green is going to go ahead and place their worker down here, and they're going to take 3 silver, and now they're going to pick up a worker, and the worker they pick up is the one at the barracks. And they're going to go ahead and pay their gold like good little people, or they pay their silver like good little people, and they're going to pick up the rogue. Alright, so it costs 3 and has 3 power. Next up is red. So as you notice, because we're not doing the quick start, we're going to be doing worker turns pretty much for everybody. So they place at the barracks to pay 1 silver to get a 1 power huntsman. And then they pick up at the silversmith to get 3 silver. So you're going to notice pretty much the turns will be pretty similar for everybody at these workers. So what we need is to get crew members. What we need to do is pick up silver to get those crew members. And then we'll probably shift gears towards the food so that we can actually do raiding. So silver, food, and crew. That's basically what we got to do. So yellow here has picked up a guardian for 3 silver. There we go. And great. So pretty much everyone's got 1 crew member now. And so we're back to blue, and they're going to continue the worker turns here. So so now they're gone to the mill, and with the black worker they pick up 1 food, and they pick up the black worker there to pick up 3 silver. All right. So we've got a pile of silver here, and we've got our black worker. And just so keep in mind, I am using these player boards from the expansion, and the maximum amount of anything you can have is 8, including cards in your hand. All right. So green here has gone ahead and picked up silver, and they placed to get silver, and now they pick up to get food. So got to be careful with your terms here. And red is going to continue here. So one of the reasons I do not do the quick start is so that new players can get used to this pattern of doing these worker turns. So place something, do something. Pick up something, do something. So doing these worker turns again and again and again for the first couple rounds, I think really cements this idea for them before we have to start raiding. So red is all set here. All right, very nice. And so let's go to move on to yellow. And they're going to take a worker turn as well. So they're going to place to pick up 3 silver. Okay. And they're going to go ahead and pick up at the barracks. And they're going to pay silver to play an Avenger. One of my favorite cards. So if he dies, others die too. So very nice. So on the left side, it's basically an effect that'll happen when it comes into play or if a certain situation happens. All right. So blue here is going to place at the barracks to pay for a shield maiden. She costs 3 silver and she has 3 power. So that power is the red in the top left corner. So that'll be more important as we go here. A little something different. So he picked up at the town hall to play the blue ability. All right. So great. Now this is an illegal play. Now, you can't place a wound on someone that has 0. You have to place it on someone that doesn't, so it's totally illegal. So blue has been illegal twice now. We're going to fix that problem, though, later on. So green here is doing a worker turn. Got 1 food and picked up at the barracks to play a... I can't pronounce some of these words, so a folk. And folk is a hero, I believe. All right, so basically everyone's gathering crew, so you need enough crew to do the raid. So I believe the minimum amount of crew for any raid is 2, and the minimum amount of food is 1, and there's various areas. So someone here went to the meat hall, red here went to the meat hall, and now they pick up a crew member. They get 2 mead, they get 1 silver, and then we shift everyone over, and then we draw a new one. So we drew a watchman, and they're all hanging out at the meat hall. And he picks up the mill to pick up some food. All right, great. So we can look forward to some raiding coming up here. Now what the mead does is add a bonus to an attack. So in that top left corner is our power. I think they should have made the mead red just to kind of help you out, but it's fine. Red mead doesn't really match it, I guess. So yellow here is picking up some silver. All right, you do need quite a bit of silver, and I think that's what caused the extra delay here, and the reason we're doing some extra... Yeah, so here we're fixing that. Yeah, we're shifting it over. The reason why we're taking probably an extra round of worker turns is, if you look, you will see this. Up in the villages, almost all of them have Jarls, and the problem with Jarls is they are huge. And if you want to subdue them to make them join your crew, you need at least 5 to 6 silver to buy them. So that's what's causing the delay here and why we're taking so many worker rounds. All right, so let's go ahead and move on then to green. And green is still going to take a worker turn. And they place there at the gatehouse to get 2 cards. So again, when you go to the gatehouse, you pick up 2 random cards from the deck. So they picked up a Brute and a Merchant. So the Merchant costs 2 and has 0. So there are quite a few of those 0 cards in the deck. If you're curious about the amount of cards, there are basically 2 of every character. For some of them there are 3. For the hero cards there's 1, and for the Jarls there's basically 1 of each of those. Alright, so red is doing a worker turn here, and they've picked up here a champion. Alright, if he hangs around till the end of the game, he's worth some victory points. So the way to win the game is victory points. Alright, so you can get resources and silver and all of this, but in the end it's all about the victory points. Alright, so moving on to yellow. Yellow is taking a worker turn, and with their black worker they pick up 1 food. Now if you notice there's actually a couple different types of workers. There's black, there's gray, there's white, and depending on the type of worker a different effect happens. Alright, and picked up here a savage and a gatekeeper. Savage has all that blood, oh yes, and I think we are finally ready, folks. Blue is gonna raid. Alright, so Blue's going to kick us off here with a raid. So we count how much food we have, we count how many crew members we have, because that is important. So he's going to place a black worker, and we need 3 food to attack here, as long as we have 2 workers as well. So you can choose any of these areas, and he chooses this one, and notice it has a Jarl in there. So we're going to go ahead and replace that, place this story right there. We'll deal with that later. And the Jarl I picked up is Brenna. Now, I'll let you know right now, you have 3 choices when dealing with the Jarls. You can kill them, you can subdue them, or you can run away. Now here I choose to subdue them, and I do the number. I always do this wrong. What you're supposed to do is -1 from that red number, and then add the blood tokens to everyone except the Jarl. Alright, so anyway, it was a successful raid, so our first victory points as well. And there we go, blue is done. But green is going to go ahead and head out for a raid as well. Alright, so he's heading over here, and he needs 2 food and at least 2 crew members. And he's picked up a Jarl as well. Alright, so his Jarl, alright, is Yulva. Alright, so again, you can kill them, you can subdue them, or you can flee. I don't recommend fleeing. It's so hard to get victory points in the game. Definitely not a good idea, which is another reason why it delayed. So once again, I forget you're supposed to -1 from that red number to spread this blood out. But at least I'm consistent for everybody across the board for this entire game. I always forget that. When you kill them, by the way, you have to add 1. Anyway, red has delayed. They're going to still do another worker turn, get some silver, and to get some food. Alright, so they finally have enough food there, probably to do something a little more strenuous. Yellow, though, is going to go ahead and go on a raid. So they have 2 crew, they have 2 food, and they have their black worker. Alright, so they're going to go ahead and head over here to this coastal area. And notice that you're picking up a different colored worker. So here, another Jarl. Alright, so we got Borg. I think he should have had more metal on him. Or maybe like a weird helmet to cover half his face. Would have been cool. Anyway, again, subduing. So it should have been -1 to the red value. So 1 less blood to go around. But we have an effect here. So if Guardian here gets wounded, then we pick up a silver. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Great. So there aren't too many of these effects that you have to keep track of, but it's definitely something that you have to be aware of. And so some victory points here for yellow, and I did forget to get some victory points there for green, but I will fix that later. Alright, so blue now is going to go on another raid. Alright, so really this game is it's really important to go on raids. Alright, so most of your points will come from there. So he's going to head off there to this coastal area. Alright, he's picked up all that stuff. Now technically you're not supposed to take that stuff till everything is done, but it's fine. Alright, so I'm a bit late with my food. but I do get it done. Alright, so blue has picked up another victory point. And yeah, I forgot to place these. So what those are stories that you get at the Mead Hall. And there we go, green got his victory points. Alright, so green, worker turn, has a gray one, and so now gets 2 food instead of 1 food with the black worker. So he picks up a black worker at the barracks, and so we'll bring a mercenary into his crew, and there's his silver to pay for the mercenary. Alright, great. So now notice the wounds here will kind of accumulate, and what happens is with the wounds it minuses 1 to the crew member's power. Alright, so red here is going to go on a raid. Alright, their first raid, very nice. Alright, so heading over there and using a black worker, picking up a gray worker. Here's the story that we'll deal with later on. And if you notice, there's a couple different potential amounts of victory points that you can get. Here's the food to pay for that raid, and here's the spoils of the raid. Alright, so we got 2 food, we've got 3 workers, we've got a gold, and we've got a gray worker. So we're actually going to have a worker turn, and we're going to go to that gatehouse and pick up 2 people. We've got an artist, and we've got a forager. 0 and 0. Alright, so we're going to go to the mill, pick it up, and get 2 food. Alright, so as the game progresses, so you'll get those different workers, and then the town, the timber of the town sort of changes. Alright, blue has a gray worker. They place that to get 2 food. Alright, and they're going to pick up at the gray worker at the gatehouse to get 2 more workers. So a brewer that has 1 power, and a marauder that has 2 power. And as I was saying, as you accumulate that blood, it minuses from their power but doesn't kill them. So if they have 3 power and 3 blood, they're essentially a 0 power crew member. So they don't help you as far as adding numbers to the raid value, but they may have some other power. But basically you want those guys to die because they're filling up your crew. Alright, so it is important to have a certain number of crew to go on raids, so that's another reason why you won't kill them off. And killing them off is kind of a timing thing. Alright, so red is taking a worker turn. Gray worker to the armory. Alright, so something here. So if you pay iron, which they're doing, you can add 2 to your attack power. Great. You can also pay 2 silver to add 1, but iron is definitely a way to make it go more efficiently. Alright, so yellow is going to go ahead and go on a raid. They have 3 crew members. They got 4 food and 1 gold. Alright, so plenty there. So gray worker, so they're going to access this area, and there's their spoils. Alright, now there's the story. Now this area you have to roll the combat die. Alright, so we're going to roll this die. We roll 1 die in this area, and the potential to die is there. Alright, they don't have that, so right there they roll a, is that a 5 or 6? And here's our crew, so we add the red numbers to that value, the red numbers at the top, and it was successful. Alright, great. Let's pay that food. I'll be more efficient about paying the food first. Alright, yeah, so success there, great. Moving on to blue. Blue's going to go on a raid as well. Has 4 food, plenty of crew, even has a gold there, and a gray worker. Now you need certain colored workers to attack certain areas. Alright, so here's our roll. So this one requires a roll of the 2 dice, and there we go. Okay, there's our total. Alright, and again we add the number of the crew members at the top left. So that one had 5. This one would normally be 4 but has 3 blood, so it's 1. This one would normally be 3 but has 3 blood, so it's 0. And this guy is just 0. Alright, so I just wanted to show you that step by step. And of course have mead, so you can add +1 if you want. Alright, so again, successful raid. And then I'm just placing the story here. So it's rare to have an unsuccessful raid. When you do, it might be because you didn't pay for the Jarl and you had to run away, and just horror. So I don't recommend it. Now the Shield Maiden here gets 1 more VP, because of the area that they attacked. So again, that is something to think about too, the preferences of your crew. Alright, so we're accumulating here a bunch of stuff. Alright, so we are having to kill, so our first deaths here. And this will get you victory points too, so yay Valhalla. Alright, so the Valkyries claimed 2, and so we'll have 1 victory point at the end of the game. So the game does have a couple tracks, but it really is not a lot to keep track of. Alright, so basically the things that give you victory points immediately are the rating. Alright, so I did forget to get blue a gold, so that's what I'm doing right there. Alright, so we are going in a raid here. So it requires 1 gold and 2 food, and requires a gray worker or a white worker to go there. We're going to roll 2 dice, and oh, death on the die. That's what that big blob is. Yeah, by the way, my dice were, I don't know, faulty, so they've got chips on them. You're going to see that as we go. So here's our total for the dice. We're going to look at the numbers at the top left corner for each of those, ignoring any numbers because of blood. And then we can look at our weapons bonuses, if we have any, and we'll total that. So anyway, there's our spoils, and we have a death, 2 deaths there. Alright, so they're going to go ahead and go. Alrighty, and here's the bonus, or I'm sorry, the death. So recording those 2 deaths, here's the story that goes there. And there's the amount that we did, so we get that many victory points. Again, yeah, so depending on how much damage you did, gets you victory points. Alright, so there we go. So actually, I forgot to issue another death because of the die death. I forgot to do that. So there is a lot to keep track of, but it's discrete. So because the game is played each player goes, I highly recommend you keep an eye to help people out, because there is a little bit there to keep track of. So especially because I'm playing with all the expansions, and of course through this playthrough I'm playing all 4 players, so that's why I forget stuff, so I'm sorry. Anyway, yellow's taking a worker turn. They do have food, they got plenty of bloodied people, some gold there. They're going to head here to the armory to spend some iron to buff twice. Okay, so when you're attacking, this buffing really does help. Alright, I do like that it's color-coded red to help you remember. Alright, so, ooh, picking up the armorer there. Kind of a forge turn right there. Alright, so very nice. Moving on to blue. Blue is also going to take a worker turn. They have a white worker. They have 1 food and only 2 crew members, so we gotta fix that. So with white, you can pick up 2 food, which we're doing now, or gold, which you'll need to attack the fortresses near the end of the game. Taking an armory as well, so buffing there. So it looks like everyone has buffed except for green. Alright, so that finishes off blue. Let's go ahead and move on to green and see what they do. They're going to take a worker turn as well. They have a white worker, they've got 2 food, they've got 2 gold, and they've got 2 crew. Alright, they're going to head over to the gatehouse, so that means they draw 2 cards, so a scout there, and a mercenary. Okay, great. Then they're going to go ahead and pick up the mill, so some food. Alright, so 2 food, because it's a white worker. Alright, so that finishes off green. We got plenty of food there, and not enough crew, though. Red is going to go ahead and take a worker turn. They've got no food. Alright, so that's definitely a problem. Gotta do that for raiding. Alright, so gray worker gets them 2 food. Alright, and they're going to go ahead and pick up the white worker at the gatehouse to draw 2 cards. So there's another scout and a brewer. Alright, so that finishes off red's turn. So as you can see, the turns are pretty quick, so I do like that about the game as well. Alright, yellow's taking a worker turn, a black worker to get 3 silver. Now notice the black workers give you more silver. Alright, so as the game progresses, the black workers may be left in the raids, and so you're losing that ability to get tons of silver. So interesting switch there. Anyway, blue's taking a worker turn. They're heading to the armory. Okay, so they're going to pump up their attack. Alright, so buy 2, because they paid iron. Very nice. And they're going to pick up that black worker for 3 silver. Alrighty, great. There we go. So that finishes off blue. They're going to need some more crew if they expect to go on some raids. Alright, green is going to take a worker turn. They've got plenty of food, they got some gold, and only 2 crew though. So they're going to head to the mead hall. Ooh, and they are not getting somebody. They're going to do something different. Alright, so we've been clearing these areas and dropping these tiles. So what these are story tiles. Now if you collect sets of 3, now if you pick it up, you have to pay that amount of cards from your hand, so 8 in this case. So he's going to go ahead and chuck those 2 for a total of 8. And he'd get those resources. So he's going to pick up there at the armory, so he's going to buff himself as well. Oh, but he's going to use silver to do it, so he gets buffed by 1. Anyways, I was saying, so you collect the silver. Now he gets 3 food for that, and I forget to do it. So yeah. So anyway, he'd get 3 food, and if you get a set of 3 of those story cards, you get a bonus. Those ring cards you see in the bottom right corner, and those will give you bonuses. And so it's basically another way to get victory points. All right. So we have a marauder here. All right, from the mead hall. So because it's the mead hall, he gets 1 silver and 1 mead because of that spot. All right, and there we go. So red has plenty of crew. All right, so we'll slide this guy over and pick up a new person at the mead hall, and the drinker is the strongman. All right, so strongman there. Cool. Moving on to the yellow player. They're going to go ahead and take a raid turn. So they have 3 food, they've got gold, they got 4 crew, even though they are bloodied, and a gray worker. So they're heading over there. Alright, so it costs 1 gold and 3 food to head there. They have enough crew to do it. They have to roll 2 dice, and oh, death on the dice. Alright, and there is a Valkyrie there. Alright, so actually 2 people have to die right here. So 1 from the die, and 1 from the pickups there. Alright, so the Marauder here gets 2 strength when raiding that area, so we're going to add 2 to our total because it is a monastery. Alright, okay, and we were able to not get 20, but 12. Alright, and we'll drop 1 of those there. Great. Alright. Alright, so death because of the die. Alright, so that's the one we will choose to go. Alright, so some victory points for us here. And we did have a death to take care of, so now if killed, an opponent gets to lose a card. So we're going to choose green. Haha, green. So green loses a card, and we're going to slide over. And there's our death to mark there. Alrighty, great. And what we picked up from there, and we're going to put it there. Alright, maybe it wasn't a Valkyrie, maybe it was an iron that I picked up. Alright, anyway. Doing a worker turn, we're going to pick up that strongman. He has 4 power because of his spots. We get mead for him as well. We'll replace it with a warmonger. Alright, 3 power, costs 3 silver. We're going to pick up the mill. Because it's white, we can get gold or provisions. I keep saying food, it is provisions. Alright, so green is taking a worker turn. He's got plenty of food, not so many crew, so he's going to the gatehouse and picking up 2. He picks up the huntsman and the huntsman. Alright, so 2 huntsmen right there. Oh, it is random. Alright, now he's also going there to pick up another person. Alright, so he could not say no to the warmonger. Alrighty, so plenty of people in hand. Alright, red is going to take a worker turn as well. Has plenty of food, plenty of crew, no gold. And, so a shield maiden is going to go ahead and replace that spot. Anyway, so he actually has the wrong color, and that's the reason why he could not go raiding this turn. Alright, so he had white, and for most of the white locations you need gold. Anyway, he's going to go ahead and grab a story, and he specifically chose a story, I think, to break the 3-story chain for the green player. Anyway, we've got 2 cards here. Alrighty, so there's his first story. And if you notice, there's victory points, a victory point track there. So the more stories you get, the higher the amount of victory points you get. Alright, so anyway, taking a worker turn here, yellow is. Alright, so using a power of the forager. So gain 2 provisions. So what happens is you have to discard that card whenever you use those powers. Alright, so especially in the late game, as you draw the 0 power crew, you basically heading over there to chuck them to use their abilities. So it's kind of nice that there's kind of a late turn swing for those quote-unquote useless cards. Anyway, we have a strongman coming into play here. Costs 4 silver. I always want to say gold, but it is silver. The gold is the gold nuggets, yes. Anyway, picking up the white worker to get gold instead of provisions this time. Alright, so blue, probably heading for some of those higher areas to attack. Green is taking a worker turn, has 2 workers, has gold, has provisions, but probably not enough crew. Now, of course, there are the smaller raid areas to go to that require just the black workers and not so much crew, but there are Valkyries there right now. And since they're not worth that many victory points and the resources aren't so much, so if you look there, there's Jarls there too. There's double Jarls. So we just don't want to deal with that. So green is picking up another story here. Has 2 stories and they are the same type. So set collection. And this was for green. Forgot to do this there. Picking up his iron. And I often forget that when you do those stories, you pick up resources. So please keep that in mind. Anyway. Placing the white worker to pick up gold, picking up that white worker at the barracks to pay silver to get another crew member. So maximum amount of crew there is 5. Alright. Yellow is going to go ahead and raid. Alright, so plenty of food there, got some gold, got 3 crew. And with the black worker, they can access this township area, I believe. Costs 3 food. Alright, so automatic success. And now we just see how much damage we did to see how many victory points we did. So of course that one has wounds. I want to check here at the armory. And that gave us 2. So our total, was it enough for this one? Or just that one? Yeah, that's okay. So now what happens if you actually have a number that's higher? Oop, we did have a death. Alright, so death there. What happens if your number is higher than that other one? That's how you get fame. Fame is a track that we're not using so much in this game. Alright, so anyway, we'll go ahead and put a story down there. And there we go. Moving on, blue's going to go ahead and take a worker turn, has a white worker, has plenty of food, has some gold, and 3 crew. Alright, so picking up 2 silver, and picking up that white worker to pick up some more provisions. Alright, you need lots of provisions to attack some of those higher ones, but wow, lots of provisions now. Green is taking a worker turn, white worker for provisions, 2 gold, and 2 crew, so not so much crew. So they're heading down there to the meat hall and picking up this crew that has 3 power and picking up a meat as well. Alright, so it looks like green is doing the storytelling engine. It's one of the ways to win the game. And yeah, so he went to the gatehouse to pick up 2 new people, and we're replacing down here in the meat hall the sage. So it is definitely one way to win, is just to have so many stories up there that you get just a huge amount of points. So the game is basically, in my mind, now split between a raid, yeah, doing stories and just doing raiding. Alright, so here's the food and the gold to pay for that one. Here's our bonus to attack, so 4 there. Let's go ahead and roll the dice. Okay, and looks like we have death. Death on the dice. Now if you notice, we're attacking that top layer, the fortresses. In the rules, one of the end game conditions is, let's say there's 1 of those fortresses left. I simplify it. Basically, however many players there are, that's how many fortresses. Once that number falls, the game's over. So If you have 2 players, 2 fortresses down, game's over. It just speeds up the game, you know. I think we get it, you know. Anyway, Jarl here to deal with. And you can kind of do this in any order you like. I've looked at this in the rule book. So you can get the Jarl first and then add the numbers to attack and then blah blah blah. It all evens out pretty much. And as ever, now in this one I chose to kill it. So that's why we got some extra damage there. So killing rather than subduing, because this person had no silver. So red had no silver. So definitely a risk to attack an area with a Jarl if you have no silver. Alright, anyway, there's a death on this die, so this crew member is going to go ahead and die. Now if killed, get a silver for it as well. So definitely a few things to remember. Alright, so there we go. And bye-bye to that crew member, which means we'll have to get a point here on the death track, the Valkyrie track I believe it's called. There's our victory points. Ooh, so a nice chunk there for the red worker. Alright. Yellow, though, is going to take a worker turn. Not so many provisions. Only has 2 crew. So heading over to the barracks to bring the Savage into play. And I think this is the only card with blood on it. So every time I see it, I'm like, yes, blood. It's blood. Oh, yes. Anyway, headed to the mead hall to pick up a worker. The Brawler, which has 2 power, get 2 mead and 1 silver. Again, you can add the mead to your power to try to get higher amounts of victory points. Alright. The Enforcer goes to the mead hall. Alright, so there we go. Nice growth there for yellow. Blue is going to go ahead and take a worker turn. Has a bunch of provisions, has some gold, has 3 crew. Yeah, so let's see. They're going to go ahead and pick up the newcomer, the Enforcer, that has 3 power for silver. Alright, and we're going to replace that one with a Protector. Okay, so I'm always looking at the power in the top left corner, and he's going to bring a Marauder into play. Yeah, so what's happening now is we're wanting bigger crews. Because once you hit that fortress, wow, it's basically started the clock on ending the game. There are some other end conditions, but I've never seen them happen, so I don't even think about them. Basically, if the offering pile disappears, and the other one is if the stack of crew members, I believe, disappears. Yeah, not happening, especially since I have all the expansions. So it's basically down to the fortress. So picking up a story here. Costs 8 from your hand and gives you resources or gives you 2 gold. And this one costs 8. So we chose this one, and there's the cards to discard from hand equaling 8. Now then, let's talk about gold. Alright, so he has a set of 3, which is great, which means he can choose one of those 2 rings. He chooses this one, so discard a silver to pick up one of the offerings. Alright, so there's the silver. And just pick up one of these offerings for free. That's 6 victory points. That's huge! Alright, so green has really got this engine going right here. So that's some kind of hidden information there. So that's where the offerings go. And as you notice, that ring gets added to the story track, which gives you victory points. So it really is a nice way to win, even though it feels like, well, I'm not attacking. I'm just kind of telling the stories that other people are doing when they go raiding. So it's kind of, I feel like thematic, but it is kind of weird that you can win the whole game that way. Anyway, red took a worker turn, yellow's taking their worker turn. Not so many provisions, got 3 crew. And so with the white one, picking up some silver there, and picking up that white one, and picking up provisions, yeah. So as I was saying earlier, so gold becomes incredibly important as the game goes. And I believe it's the red worker that's going to run into some problems, so a little spoiler there. Anyway, blue here, plenty of food, plenty of gold, has a gray worker, and is picking up this cartographer, because you pay 1 less gold when attacking fortresses. Okay, so blue is thinking ahead, probably could have attacked that round, but chose not to so they could get the cartographer. Alright, so rogue heads over to the meat hall and picks up 2 silver. Alright, there we go. Okay, a big huge pile of resources, so this is how the game goes. So green is taking their worker turn, so they do have plenty of food, they got tons of gold, they only have 2 crew members, so they're heading, so to make an offering. Alright, so paying those resources to basically get that amount of victory points, and that'll be hidden. And he goes to the gatehouse to pick up cards. So again, this is the engine. He's got to pick up lots of cards to discard them to pick up stories. So that's kind of the engine that green is doing right now. Let's see if it pays off for him, because he's not doing so many raids. Now red just seems to be in trouble. Not enough food at the wrong time. Wrong worker at the wrong time. Not enough gold. So red is really kind of in a bind. I feel really bad for him. Let's see if he can kind of pull it out in the end. He goes ahead and spends a cow over there to get more provisions. Okay, so huge chunk of provisions. He's got that all set. Yellow is taking a worker turn, got some provisions, plenty of gold, got 3 crew, great. And he's heading over to town, to the gatehouse, spends the white worker to pick up 2 cards, picks up a protector, as well as a vigilante. Alright, okay. He picks up the gray worker there, and he's going to go ahead and pick up a story as well. Alright, so it costs 4 from his hand, and there's the 4. Alright, so is he going to go for that story win as well, or is he messing up somebody? So, again, if you collect 3 of the same kind of story, that's a set, and you pick up a ring. So he might be doing some hate drafting there to kind of slow some people down. Anyway, blue's going on a raid. Yay, so another raid. Alright, so 2 down. And if we're playing by my rules, 2 down, 2 to go. Anyway, there's the resource to spend, 4 cards. And here's the 2 dice to be rolled. Okay, fair roll. And we add up our red numbers right there to the die roll. And we check how many armory bonuses we have. So we have 4 there. We add that. Okay, we can add the mead if we want to add the mead. So we check all this. Can we get that highest one? No, we get the middle one. All right, so anyway, there's the story to replace it. And then we'll add our victory points to blue. Nice chunk. Great. Blue takes the lead. And there's our winnings. Cool. Green's going to go ahead and take a worker turn. And I think we know where we're headed. Yep, we're heading to the mead hall to tell some tall tales. All right. He's our bard. All right. So he picks up this one. It costs 7. Now, a little something. Now, he might have picked up... Now, what he did was he picked up a 7 that was actually of a different type. We'll see that in a minute. And he goes to the gatehouse to pick up 2 new cards to go into his hand. Alright, so there we go. So he's a different type. So you need sets of 3 that are a different type. Alright, so that's how you get the rings to really fill up that track. Anyway, red here, so much provisions. Yeah, you had to place something somewhere, so he's getting some gold there. So he needs gold right now to do some attacking. So worker turn here for yellow. So many crew, lots of gold, lots of provisions. He's going to go to the barracks to get a vigilante. That'll cost him 3 silver. Alright, there we go. And he's going to go ahead and pick up that white worker. And he's going to pick up 2 silver. Alright, so money in and money out. Alright, so there we go. Yellow's turn is done. Moving on to blue. And blue's going to go ahead and take a worker turn. He has a white worker. Plenty of food, 1 gold, and 4 crew. Alright, so he's going to spend the worker to use the power. Okay, so he's going to swap cards. Alright, so he's going to go ahead and swap this enforcer. Alright, so he's going to pump up his crew. Yeah, that shepherd wasn't really doing anything for him. There we go. Bye-bye, shepherd. So keep in mind, the shepherd wasn't killed in a raid, so it's just kind of put into hand. Anyway, cartographer. So there we go. So now blue is ready to raid the fortresses next turn. Alright, so green here, plenty of food, some crew, but nope, he's heading to the gatehouse. So picking up some people. There we go. So that one's worth 4. So the problem with this strategy is there are lots of crew members that are worth 0. So if you get lucky and pick up some nice 3s and 4s, yep, he's heading to that mead. Now here's some footage with Lost. There, now you see it, now you don't. Anyway, he picked up that story there, and there we go. He's well on his way to getting that third story to pick up his second set. All right, so red here is taking a worker turn, so he needs the gold. Poor guy. So he's gonna go ahead and pick up that gold, and he goes to the gatehouse to pick up some crew. What was that? Conquistador? I always want to say conquistador, and a berserker. All right, so he's finally got 2 gold. Great, good for him. So raid turn for yellow. Got plenty of food, plenty of gold, and plenty of crew, and this kind of messes up red. All right, so you needed 4 workers or 4 crew to go here. So 2 gold, 2 food to pay for it, and he's gonna roll 2 dice. Now how he screwed up red is the other fortresses require 5 crew. Poor red. Anyway, death on the die. There we go. So we take the number of the die, we take the number on the top left of each of the workers, we add that all together. We check out the armory, we add that red value there, and then we check out were we able to, so some character abilities, so +1 strength, great. And then we have our mead, okay, and then we check out that area. Let's go ahead and throw that story down. Now which of them could we have paid for? Let's go ahead and deal with our death right here. Now again, the total got added to even though they died, all right? So that's the one we were able to pay for. All right, so that means we get that middle value of victory points, and see, it's a nice jump. So really the way to win the game is raiding. All right, and someone did die, so he added a point to his Valkyrie track, which could give us some points at the end of the game. Blue is going on a raid as well. Plenty of food. He's heading down to the monastery though. All right, picks up a white worker. All right, costs him a gold and 2 provisions to go there. He has to roll 2 dice. All right, and it had required 4 workers. All right, so 6 right there. And we'll check this out here. So he has a 4 at the armory. So 6 plus 4 plus each of these numbers here should give us a nice number. And, has plenty of mead. All right, so he's able to get that extra value. Now, here, let's talk about this. With our mead, we're able to get fame. Okay, so fame is another track here. Blue's the first one to get it. It's another way to get victory points, but it's hard to get it because you have to get a number in excess of the value. All right, so now I guess it could be argued that it's in excess in any of the low and middle tiers, but I only get the fame from the highest tier. All right, so anyway, Green's doing his typical here, doing the stories. All right, and picks up a trader there. All right, fair enough. And yeah, right here, I forgot, because what he did was he discarded the trader to use its ability, but I forgot to pick up the offering. I forgot to pick it up. Anyway, I don't think it would have made a difference in the final tally, but definitely something I did forget. Anyway, red here doing a worker turn. All right, picking up a story. Try to mess up green. All right, if nothing else, he's going to do some hate drafting because he has the wrong color worker to do some attacks. So anyway, he chucks the berserker to pick up that story. All right, well, he's working on a set of his own. All right, so not too bad. So not exactly hate drafting. All right, so yellow taking a worker turn. He's got 1 food, 1 gold, 3 crew. He's heading over to make an offering. All right, so the 2 cows and the iron to pick that up. So it is a net gain of victory points. So the cows and the iron and the gold, they are worth victory points, but in general, making an offering instead is better. But it does take up a turn, so it's a give and take. And let's go ahead and move on to blue. Blue's on a raiding rampage. All right, so white worker, he's got some food there. He's got 1 gold and 5 crew. All right, so he's heading to a fortress. Now, normally it would take 2 gold and 3 food, but he has the cartographer here, so he pays 1 less gold. All right, so blue definitely got into this raiding rhythm. All right, so there's our provisions and our 1 gold. He's going to attack this one. Alright, so there we go. He's going to roll the 2 die. And no death this time. Great. Okay, not a great roll. Fair roll. Check out his power here at the armory. Add up our total here on everyone's top left. No one has any wounds. Add the die. We do have 3 mead. So we check here. Once again, we're in the middle with the mead. Alright, so it adds +1 to our total. And there's our victory points. Alright, keeping the lead. Alright. There's our story to replace it. And yeah, that wraps up blue. Great. Moving on to green. Green's going to take a worker turn. Let's see if he can add to this story here. Alright, so yeah, he's got so many resources. So much gold. So he's going to head over and use an ability. So again, make an offering paying 1 less. Alright, so basically you pick up any of those and just pay 1 less. The resources there are how much it costs. So a gold and an iron to pick up 4 victory points. He's just going to pay the gold, not the iron. Alright. He's going to go to the mill to pick up another gold. Alright, so he is a gold fool. So each gold is 1 victory point at the end of the game. Alright, so red is taking a worker turn. Man, look at that crew. It's killing him. But he has so much food, and he has the gold, but he has a gray worker. So he cannot attack the fortress. So it's just terrible. I feel so bad for red. But gold really is important in the late game. So he picks up a warlord and a recruiter. So maybe he can get his set of 3 if the game does not end, and I'm afraid it will. So a trader. So using that special ability there. So he's going to pick up this one. So for 4 victory points at the cost of just 1 iron. Alright, so there we go. Red, frustrated I'm sure. Yellow is taking a worker turn. 1 food, has 1 gold, 4 crew. Yeah, the video was lost here. I do not know what happened, but it was the end of the game. So anyway, he picked up the offering. Anyway, here's our points. So point there for the armory track. Here's the Valkyrie track. Got a point there. Fame track. Blue was the only one to have fame. No offering tiles. No reputation tiles. No crew cards gave us anything. We're just counting up our plunder here. He had 6 livestock, so we divide that by 2. Gives us 3. He did have some gold, so 2 victory points for the gold. And then 1 iron. Alright, so 31 points plus 10. So we just discard our hands here. So wow, look at that. So a nice chunk of points there for green. Alright. So for the armory track, got nothing, did not have it high enough. Valkyrie track, 2 deaths for 1 victory point there. Fame track, nothing. The offering tiles, 15 points. Reputation tiles, 10 points. Crew cards, nothing. Counting our plunder here, plenty of gold, so 5 gold, great. No iron, no livestock. Alright, so 7 points plus 31. Yeah, so adding these right here. This was a huge amount of points for him as well. Alright, so these offering tiles, great. Moving on to red. Alright, so red discards your hand, it's useless. Armory track, alright, so 2 points there. Valkyrie track, nothing, not enough. Fame track, nothing, only blue had fame. Counting up our plunder here, so 2 gold. The offering tiles, these over here are the reputation tiles, only got up to 2 there. And he actually did have a crew card here that gave him some points there. Yellow, nothing for the armory track, 2 points for the Valkyrie track, 0 points for the fame track. Right here we got 1 point for the reputation tiles. Checking out our plunder, we had iron, so 2 points. There's our totals. Poor red. And blue. Blue's our winner. And there we go. So I do enjoy the game. I hope you will check it out. I'm really happy that you checked out my playthrough right here. I really do appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And bye.